Silence is not weakness. It is not submission. It is the highest form of strength. In a world where everyone feels the need to prove themselves, defend their actions, and seek validation through words, the person who remains silent holds the real power. Think about the most influential people you've ever encountered. Were they the ones constantly talking, always trying to be heard, or were they the ones who spoke only when necessary? The truth is, silence is a force that commands attention, because when you don't react, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. The ability to stay silent when others expect a reaction is a sign of deep inner strength. It shows restraint, self-control, and discipline. Most people are ruled by their emotions. They speak when they're angry, they argue when they're challenged, and they explain when they feel misunderstood. But the person who has mastered silence understands that words spoken in impulse often do more harm than good. They know that not every battle is worth fighting and that silence itself can be the strongest response. Silence is also a tool for gathering wisdom. When you listen more than you speak, you learn. You gain insight into people's true intentions because when others are talking, they are revealing themselves. They are exposing their thoughts, their motivations, their weaknesses. A person who talks too much is often giving away more than they realize. But a person who listens gains an advantage. They become aware of opportunities, they pick up on details others miss, and they develop a level of understanding that cannot be reached by those who are always speaking. There's also a deep psychological advantage to silence. People are naturally uncomfortable with it. They expect a response, an argument, a justification. And when they don't get it, they are left to question, to wonder, to overthink. This is why silence can be more powerful than words. It forces people to reflect on their own actions rather than putting them on the defensive. It shifts control from the person demanding a reaction to the person who refuses to give one. Beyond the external power of silence, there is an even greater strength that comes from within. Silence allows you to connect with yourself. It creates space for deep thought, for strategy, for peace. It removes the noise of the world and replaces it with clarity. The strongest decisions are made in moments of quiet. The greatest transformations happen when the mind is still. Silence is where true strength is built. Most people listen to respond, not to understand. They hear words, but they don't absorb meaning. They wait for their turn to talk instead of truly engaging. But the person who listens, not just with their ears, but with their full attention, gains something far greater than the one who speaks. Listening gives you information, and information is power. In any conversation, the one who speaks the most is usually the one giving away their thoughts, their emotions, their weaknesses. They reveal their fears, their ambitions, and sometimes even their insecurities. But the person who listens, they collect details. They learn. They observe patterns in people's behavior, their tone, their choice of words. They begin to understand not just what is being said, but what is left unsaid. In business, the best negotiators say the least. They let the other side talk themselves into deals. In relationships, the best communicators aren't the ones who talk endlessly. They're the ones who make the other person feel heard. When you listen, you gain leverage. You get insight into what others value, what they're afraid of, what they truly want. And once you know that, you can navigate any conversation with clarity and purpose. Listening also builds patience. In a world that moves fast, where everyone wants instant gratification, the ability to stay quiet and observe is rare. But those who master it develop a sense of calm that others do not have. They don't rush to prove a point. They don't get caught up in unnecessary arguments, and they don't waste energy trying to impress the wrong people. They wait, they learn, and when they do speak, their words carry more weight. There is also a psychological shift that happens when you listen more and speak less. People naturally trust those who make them feel understood. When you give someone the space to express themselves without interruption, they begin to see you as someone they can confide in. They open up in ways they wouldn't if they felt the need to compete for attention. This is why the most influential people aren't necessarily the loudest ones in the room. They are the ones who make others feel important simply by listening. The habit of speaking less also prevents unnecessary mistakes. Words spoken in impulse can create conflicts, burn bridges, and reveal thoughts that were better kept private. When you learn to hold back, to choose your words carefully, you develop a discipline that most people never attain. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond thoughtfully. Instead of speaking to fill silence, you speak only when it adds value. Wisdom is not something that comes from constant talking or endless debates. It is born in moments of quiet reflection, in the spaces between noise, where the mind can process, analyze, and truly understand. When you embrace silence, you give yourself the opportunity to think deeply, to observe without bias, and to gain insights that would otherwise be drowned out by unnecessary words. In the modern world, distractions are everywhere. People are always engaged in conversation, bombarded with information, or consumed by their own thoughts. They rarely take a moment to step back, to be still, to listen to their own inner voice. But wisdom requires space. It requires silence to take root. When the mind is quiet, it begins to make sense of experiences, it starts connecting patterns, and it allows new ideas to emerge. Great thinkers, philosophers, and leaders throughout history have all understood the power of solitude. They withdrew from the noise of the world not to escape it, but to see it more clearly. In silence, they reflected on their choices, their challenges, and their path forward. They understood that wisdom isn't something that can be forced. It unfolds naturally when given the right environment. Silence also enhances perception. When you stop talking and start observing, you begin to notice things that others overlook. You pick up on people's true intentions, the underlying emotions behind their words, and the subtle details that reveal the bigger picture. You start to see beyond the surface, beyond what is being said, into what is actually meant. This level of awareness allows you to navigate life with greater clarity and confidence. Beyond external awareness, silence cultivates inner wisdom. When you take time to be still, you develop a deeper understanding of yourself. You become more in tune with your values, your purpose, and your intuition. You begin to recognize which thoughts serve you and which ones are simply distractions. You learn to trust yourself more, to rely on your own judgment rather than seeking constant validation from others. Silence also allows emotions to settle. In moments of anger, frustration, or uncertainty, speaking too soon can lead to regret. But when you choose silence, you give yourself time to process what you feel. You gain control over your reactions, allowing wisdom to guide your decisions rather than impulse. This ability to pause, to reflect, and to choose your words carefully is what separates the wise from the reckless. Respect is rarely given to the person who talks the most. It belongs to the one who carries themselves with quiet confidence, the one who doesn't need to explain or justify their every move. When you are selective with your words, people listen when you speak. They pay attention because they know that if you're saying something, it must matter. In any room, the person who remains quiet often holds the most influence. They're the ones people watch, the ones others seek approval from. Why? Because their silence creates an air of mystery, an aura of strength. When you don't reveal everything about yourself, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability commands attention. People want to know what you think, what you feel, what your next move will be, but they can't figure it out if you don't tell them. Think about the greatest leaders, the most respected individuals in history. They weren't the ones shouting to be heard. They spoke with purpose, with intention. They knew that words have weight, and that when used sparingly, they become even more powerful. A person who talks too much often loses credibility, but a person who speaks only when necessary holds authority. Silence also demands respect because it shows self-control. When others get emotional, defensive, or eager to prove themselves, the quiet one remains composed. This restraint signals power. It shows that you are not easily swayed, not easily provoked. People begin to see you as someone who cannot be manipulated, someone who is firm in their presence and purpose. Being quiet also creates boundaries. It teaches people that not everything about you is open for discussion. When you don't reveal all your thoughts, when you don't engage in every argument, you teach others that your energy is valuable. And when something is valuable, people respect it. They think twice before wasting your time. They recognize that your silence is not emptiness. It is a choice, a sign of discernment and wisdom. And there is also an undeniable confidence in the person who doesn't feel the need to be the loudest in the room. When you are at peace with yourself, when you know your worth, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You let your actions speak, you let results do the talking, and in doing so, you earn something that cannot be demanded: respect. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not every argument is worth your time. Not every person should have access to your thoughts. Silence is a shield, a form of protection against the unnecessary drain of your mental, emotional, and spiritual energy. When you engage in every conversation, every debate, every piece of gossip, you are giving away pieces of yourself. You are allowing outside forces to dictate your emotions, to influence your peace. But the person who masters silence understands that energy is precious, and not everyone deserves a response. They choose carefully where to invest their attention, and in doing so, they remain centered, unshaken by the chaos around them. Silence creates boundaries. It tells people that your thoughts are not for free, that your time is valuable, and that you will not be easily pulled into negativity. When you refuse to react impulsively, you take control of your own energy. You decide what is worth responding to and what is better left alone. This level of self-discipline keeps you from being drained by toxic interactions and meaningless distractions. People who talk too much often find themselves exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally. They give too much of themselves away. They over-explain. They defend. They seek validation. But the quiet one conserves their strength. They understand that silence is not just about withholding words. It's about maintaining balance, keeping their inner world intact, and not allowing external noise to disturb their peace. Silence also protects you from unnecessary conflicts. Words spoken in haste can lead to misunderstandings, arguments, and regret. But when you practice silence, you give yourself time to think, to process, to decide whether something is even worth addressing. More often than not, you will realize that silence is the best response, that by not engaging, you have already won the battle. Beyond protecting you from external negativity, silence also safeguards your inner growth. It gives you space to reflect, to recharge, to listen to your own intuition. It allows your mind to rest, your emotions to settle, and your spirit to stay aligned with what truly matters. When you learn to protect your energy through silence, you gain a quiet power, one that cannot be shaken by the distractions of the world. Growth isn't loud. It doesn't happen in the middle of noise, distractions, or endless conversations. True transformation takes place in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, when there is nothing to prove, and when the mind is free to reflect and evolve. In silence, you gain clarity. Without the pressure of outside opinions, you begin to see yourself more clearly. You start to recognize your strengths, your weaknesses, and the areas where you need to improve. You hear your own thoughts without interference, and that is where real self-awareness begins. Most people never take the time to sit with themselves, to truly understand their desires, their fears, and their purpose. But silence creates that space. It allows you to connect with yourself on a deeper level. Growth also requires solitude because that's where deep work happens. When you're constantly engaged in conversation, reacting to others, or seeking validation, your energy is scattered. But when you retreat into silence, you can focus. You can study, practice, plan, and refine your skills without distraction. The most successful people in the world didn't get where they are by talking about their goals all the time. They got there by working on them in silence. Silence teaches patience, and patience is a key part of growth. In a world that demands instant results, the ability to sit in stillness, to trust the process, to build quietly without rushing, that is where true success is born. When you embrace silence, you learn that growth is not something that happens overnight. It is a slow, steady process that requires time, discipline, and self-reflection. Beyond personal development, silence also allows you to hear what truly matters. When the world is quiet, your intuition becomes louder. You start to notice the subtle signs, the gut feelings, the whispers of wisdom that guide you in the right direction. Many people miss these signals because they are too distracted by external noise. But those who take time to be still, to listen, to reflect, they find answers that others never will. In moments of silence, you also process your experiences in a way that talking never could. Growth isn't just about learning new things. It's about absorbing, integrating, and applying them. When you take time to sit in silence, your mind makes connections, your heart settles, and your vision for the future becomes clearer. The lessons you've learned start to take root, shaping you into a stronger, wiser version of yourself. There's something powerful about the person who doesn't reveal too much, the one who speaks with intention, who doesn't feel the need to explain everything, who carries themselves with quiet confidence. That kind of person draws attention without even trying. They intrigue people. They make others curious, and curiosity is the foundation of attraction. When you talk too much, you become predictable. People think they know everything about you. There's no mystery, no excitement, no reason for them to wonder. But when you embrace silence, you create a sense of depth. People start to ask themselves, what is this person thinking? What do they know that I don't? Why do they speak so little yet carry so much presence? That kind of curiosity pulls people in. It makes them want to understand you, to be around you, to figure you out. The mystery is attractive because it creates an emotional challenge. The mind is drawn to things it cannot immediately understand. When you don't always give away your thoughts, when you don't react to everything, when you leave room for interpretation, people naturally become more interested. They start to pay closer attention to your words, your expressions, your actions, because they know that when you do speak, it means something. Beyond mystery, silence also signals confidence. Insecure people over-explain. They feel the need to fill every gap in conversation, to prove themselves, to make sure they are understood. But a truly confident person knows they don't need to do that. They let their presence speak for itself. They understand that words should be used with purpose, not just for the sake of talking. And that level of self-assurance is incredibly attractive. Silence also shifts the dynamic of power in social interactions. When you are quiet, people lean in. They want to hear what you have to say. They feel the need to earn your attention rather than simply being given access to your thoughts. This changes the way people perceive you. From someone who is always available to someone who is valued. Someone whose words and presence are not to be taken lightly. There's also a deeper energy that comes with silence. It creates an aura of mystery. that makes people feel something when they're around you. They can't quite figure you out, and that makes them intrigued. It makes you memorable. It makes your presence feel significant, even when you're saying nothing at all. The world is full of noise, constant movement, endless distractions, people rushing from one thing to the next, searching for answers outside of themselves. But the universe does not respond to chaos. It responds to stillness. It is in moments of quiet that clarity arrives, that solutions appear, that what you've been seeking finally begins to take shape. When you are still, you align yourself with the natural rhythm of life. Instead of forcing, chasing, or struggling, you allow things to unfold. You create space for the right opportunities to find you, for the right people to be drawn into your life, for the right insights to surface. Many people live in a constant state of resistance, trying to control everything, overthinking every decision, reacting to every problem. But when you step into stillness, you stop resisting, and in that surrender, the universe begins to work in your favor. Stillness is not inactivity. It is a state of deep awareness, a moment where you are fully present, fully open. When you are still, you can hear the subtle messages life is sending you. You notice the signs, the synchronicities, the intuitive nudges guiding you in the right direction. These signals are always there, but most people are too distracted to recognize them. They are too busy talking, worrying, and overanalyzing to realize that the answers have been there all along, waiting for them to be quiet enough to listen. In stillness, your energy shifts. You move from desperation to confidence, from chaos to peace, from uncertainty to knowing. The universe mirrors your state of being. When you are restless, it reflects restlessness. When you are doubtful, it presents obstacles. But when you are still, when you trust, when you allow things to unfold naturally, the universe responds with ease, with flow, with synchronicity. Great things happen when you stop chasing and start attracting. When you no longer feel the need to prove, to push, to force outcomes, you become a magnet for everything meant for you. The relationships, the opportunities, the abundance, they find you because you have created space for them to enter. You are no longer blocking your blessings with unnecessary noise, with forced actions, with constant movement in the wrong direction. Instead, you are aligned, receptive, and fully aware of the infinite possibilities that exist beyond the distractions of the world. Peace is not something you find in the noise of the world. It is something you cultivate within yourself. And one of the most powerful ways to do that is through silence. When you learn to be still, to quiet your mind, and to detach from unnecessary distractions, you create a space where inner peace can flourish. Most people are constantly reacting to conversations, to situations, to their own thoughts. Their minds are filled with endless chatter, worries, and opinions. They seek peace externally, believing that if they can just fix this problem, change that person, or achieve a certain goal, they will finally feel at ease. But true peace isn't found in external circumstances. It is created in silence. It is developed in the moments when you step back from the noise, when you stop chasing and start listening. Silence allows you to separate yourself from the chaos of the world. It gives you the ability to observe without being emotionally entangled, to process your thoughts without being overwhelmed. When you stop engaging in every argument, stop explaining yourself to those who will never understand, and stop filling every quiet moment with distractions, you begin to notice something. You feel lighter, your mind becomes clearer, your energy becomes calmer. In silence, you become more in tune with yourself. You start to hear your own voice above the opinions of others. You gain a deeper understanding of your emotions, your desires, and your purpose. Instead of being pulled in 1,000 directions by external influences, you become centered, grounded, and in control of your inner world. Silence also teaches you patience. It helps you embrace the idea that not everything needs an immediate response, that not every situation requires your energy. In mastering silence, you master the art of self-restraint. You learn to let go of the need to react, to prove, to engage in unnecessary battles. And in doing so, you conserve your peace. Beyond just the absence of noise, silence is a form of healing. It allows you to process pain, to release stress, to connect with something greater than yourself. It becomes a sanctuary where you can recharge, reflect, and realign. In a world that thrives on distraction, choosing silence is an act of self-care, an act of self-respect, and those who master it understand one simple truth. Peace is not given, it is created. Success isn't about talking, it's about doing. The people who spend their time discussing their plans, defending their choices, or trying to impress others with their words often find themselves stuck in the same place. But those who master the art of silence understand a simple truth. Results speak louder than words. When you talk too much about what you're going to do, you waste energy that could be used for action. You get caught up in the illusion of progress, thinking, planning, explaining, but without execution, nothing changes. The most accomplished people don't spend their time announcing their every move. They work in silence, building, learning, and refining. And by the time they speak, it's not to convince others, it's to show results. Silence creates focus. When you stop engaging in meaningless conversations, when you stop explaining yourself to people who don't matter, when you stop worrying about how others perceive you, you free up energy for what truly matters: your work, your goals, your growth. You become more intentional with your time, more disciplined in your efforts, and more committed to progress. Speaking less also protects you from unnecessary distractions. When you share too much, you invite opinions, doubts, and negativity into your journey. People will always have something to say, whether it's criticism, skepticism, or unsolicited advice. But when you keep your plans to yourself, you shield your vision from outside interference. You stay focused on the goal, not on the noise. Beyond that, silence commands respect. When you are known for action rather than words, people take you seriously. They see you as someone who follows through, someone who doesn't just dream but executes. And that kind of reputation opens doors. It attracts opportunities, partnerships, and success, because the world rewards those who deliver, not those who merely talk about it. Those who speak less achieve more because they understand where their energy is best spent. Instead of explaining their vision, they build it. Instead of talking about change, they create it. Instead of seeking validation, they let success be their proof. And in the end, it is their results, not their words, that define them.